All right. You ready to make a show?
Sure.
I'm like, that's good because my rule for this one is I don't edit it. So everything we've said so far has already been in the show.
Wow.
No, we
Are
can.
people ready for unadulterated Rocky and Jords?
Oh, they're not. They're not. Excellent. Okay. Well,
None of this has been re-recorded by Rocky immediately after the podcast episode is finished and he's reviewed the footage? Transcript. Transcript is the right word.
yeah. Yeah. No. I couldn't possibly comment. All right, so this is our end of year special, where we take things a little bit fast and loose. We don't necessarily do a topic, but we are going to do some Q&A. Some of the Qs have been submitted by folks in the Discord. Some have been submitted by myself, which Jordan doesn't know about yet.
So excited.
And we're just going to go until we have roughly an hour worth of interesting conversation, and then we're going to call it for the year. Because my Christmas present to myself is that I don't have to do any editing. So you get to hear what the podcast sounds like before I get my little razor tool on it. And it ain't pretty. Yeah, we digress a lot. Like, we digress. I cut so many interesting facts about Jordan's past and also, like, so much...
Yeah, we digress a lot. As he says, Jordan brings up his past very frequently. Look at the we in that.
I cut a lot of personally identifying information out of this show.
Thank God I would be hacked so easily if you kept everything in.
You're welcome. If anyone ever asks, like, what, I don't know, what's the name of the tiny town that Jordan grew up in? I don't think we've ever said the name of the tiny town that Jordan grew up in, but like, that wouldn't be your password question anyway, because you didn't like it very much.
And I wasn't born there.
I didn't say born, I said grew up in.
Yeah, I know, but the security question is always, what city were you born in? Which honestly is a much worse question.
What city were you born in?
I ain't saying that just after I've said that. Come on, mate.
I didn't know you were not born in buttfuck nowhere. This is new information to me.
No, I was born in buttfuck somewhere-ish.
Was it nearby?
Oh, on the Australian scale, yeah.
Was it in the same state?
Yes.
Okay. Fascinating.
You might even
unpack
say
that.
It's a major city in that same state. But I was only there till I was 5, so it doesn't...
There's only one major city in any of our
And this is all the stuff that Rocky normally cuts.
Yeah. This is your behind the scenes
Honestly,
special.
this feels like cheating. Like, there are a lot of other podcasts that are like, we just get designers on and then we shoot the shit. But we do quite a lot of prep for every episode. So to raw dog it like this feels like crime.
Yep. Yes. And this is the other reason that like a lot of shows when they do a Patreon, people will be like, oh, just give us the like unedited version of the show as like bonus content. And one of the podcasts I listened to was like, I would never do that because the stuff that I cut for a reason. Like an unedited version of the show is strictly worse.
It's a much worse product.
So yeah, you get to see how the sausage is made one time per year.
So to digress, I did just watch a video about making sausages yesterday. And it's not something you want to see.
Okay. Look, we got to get onto the questions because once this recording timer hits an hour, I'm cutting you off.
Oh no! All right, let's start punching.
All right.
We
Wait.
gotta...
Let me just open. I have a drink.
A very
It's a
small...
teeny tiny bottle of whiskey.
Oh, I wish you had told me that in advance. I would have got my own tiny glass of whiskey. Oh, I thought you were going to drink it straight from the bottle.
I'm not an animal. There you go. That's some ASMR content for the for the package.
From your unidirectional microphone.
All right.
Right, we've got a couple of sources of questions here, right? We got some from the Discord. We've got some from some fan emails that were sent through. You've got some in the pocket. I've got one-ish in the pocket, but I'm sure more will come up.
Excellent. I'm going to suggest we start with one of mine because it's the end of year question that for the Spotify Wrapped season that we're in. So my opener, my icebreaker, if you will, is what's the best game you played in this year? Not the best system you've run or anything like that. Well, like not what's the best game system, but what was the best single session you played in or ran this year?
Or best single session.
Yep.
I think
that's what we do. We prep sessions. So what's your best session?
I have a recency bias for this one.
Absolutely me too. But go on.
So I've been running a Shadow of the Weird Wizard game, and this one we've intentionally slowed it down a little bit. So typically in Shadow of the Weird Wizard, it's one adventure per level, and 1 to 3 each sessions per adventure. And there are only 10 levels in the game, so normally you'd cap out after about 15 to 20. We just had our 29th session.
So yesterday. Interesting that that game has a set number of sessions after which it ends.
Look, that's on my rant, and I would love to come back to that one. Put that in the parking lot, Rockwell.
We'll put that in the parking lot.
In this setting of Weird Wizard, there is a town called Four Towers that has 4 towers. They are very old towers. The town is very young. It's only about 40 years old. But underneath each tower is a part of a mega dungeon.
I think we talked about this in one ep this season.
I don't remember if it made it through.
I don't remember.
I know we've talked about it. But yeah, whether the listeners have heard or not, quick recap, just in case. Also, should say that if this is the first episode you're listening to, please don't listen to literally anything else.
Except last year's back to this end of year episode. That's not a good place to start either. That's also a bad place to begin.
So my players have been exploring one of the dungeons below this tower, and they went in at a previous level. They're pretty strong. They did some stuff. They came out. They leveled up. Each level is a significant power boost in this game. It has a pretty strong curve, right? And it plays very much like a 5e-like game, but far more streamlined and with infinity times more player options. I cannot recommend it highly enough for people who are looking for something to scratch the 5e itch that isn't 5e. But one of the spells that my Chaos Mage has is Warp Space. And remarkably, in this last level up, they managed to get an ability that allows them to carve out pockets so that allies don't get affected by their whimsical bullshit, right? The Chaos Mage is entirely whimsical bullshit. This Warp Space spell, every time something moves within it, you roll a d6, you consult the table, and something happens. And it could be that they move faster, it could be that they move slower, it could be that they're held in place and confused. They might have to make a check, it might just automatically happen. They might phase out of existence entirely and pop back in at the end of the round. And that's where our shenanigan happened, right? In this battlefield arena that we'd set up, there's like a mezzanine layer, there's like a floating undead mage, there's a bunch of like significantly armored warriors, and a couple of like undead scribes, right? And they're pumping through a bunch of they're creating these like geometric prayer symbols that are like fuel for the magic that these guys use. My players don't know that, and hopefully they don't listen to this episode just yet until they've cracked what that mystery is. They know these things are used in some form of how these undead creatures keep resurrecting, but they're not sure the specifics yet.
This, by the way, classic example of the kind of stuff I would cut.
Hey, we're doing it here.
Spoilers for your own game, but also like very long setup for
this setup is
what was your best session question.
So this session, like this game usually plays for about 2 hours on a Tuesday night after work. So it's we're pretty punchy with a lot of things. But of course, when you get into a combat, things go a little bit slower. in the middle of this combat, where the whole space is warped and every bad guy has to make a roll at the start of every turn on whether or not they just fucking disappear for a round, one of the bad, like, plebs disappears, and then I'm told by the player who's reading the spell, right? I'm not familiar with every single spell that's player facing. I don't need to be. So it's really exciting to me when they're like, okay, now something like this might happen when it comes back. So it's like, okay, 1 in 6 chance, it disappears. Great. End of the round, it comes back. I make a roll, it fails the roll. That means it gets teleported somewhere at the caster's choice. It gets put on a mezzanine that has no stairs because the floating mage just goes up there when it needs to, right? So now this thing has been isolated up the top. And then my player's like, and then just roll a d20 and let me know if it's a 13. And I roll a d20 and it's a 13. And I'm like, oh, shit, it is. What does that mean? And she goes, oh, that means it's comes back from the void possessed by a formless demon. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. And it was just a perfect example of, like, you know, the simulationist trad bullshit that you have to go so deep, but the extremely unlikely thing actually happens, and it did. And then on the next turn, this creature that is now possessed by a demon tries to get down from the mezzanine, moves into space, warps to a new location, right behind the party lines and against one of their, like, NPC retainers.
Oof.
And they're like, oh shit, it's gonna kill our porter. So one of the dudes runs over and kills this undead creature that's housing a formless demon, which then comes out and possesses their retainer. But all of the characters think they've just conquered it. And, like, the players know that something is up with this thing, but the characters are like, phew, just made it, saved it. Phew, thank God.
Nice.
And then on the next round of combat, that retainer starts edging away and eventually just flees the scene. And they take a little while to finish it up, and then by the time they're done, they can't find this dude anywhere.
Oh.
And now I've got this delightful plot element that I get to reintroduce later. They're probably going to be down in this dungeon for another couple of sessions, and then when they come back out, some shenanigans are going to have occurred upstairs.
Nice.
So this is like a phenomenal example of how when all the dice play right, you get that emergent thing that's like, I didn't plan for that, I didn't prep for it, but the consequence of it happening, phenomenal.
Yeah, it's like you've given
Very
yourself
fun.
a little hook to have some fun with going forward.
Exactly. And, like, this is what these types of systems excel at doing. Like, I didn't have to use GM fiat, I didn't have to, like, force a thing at all. The dice rolled, some things happened, and some fun has emerged because of it. So I would say that is the best session I've had. The players are still talking about it. You know, that was like a month ago, and they're yet to find out what the repercussions of this are.
So, you did bring this up at 59 minutes and 52 seconds into our sports movies episode.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
Because we were talking about whether or not dungeon delving would count as a sport. My best session of the year is actually one that I played in, not ran. I've run some fun ones too, but I wanted to call out a nice piece of work by another game master. It was in 5e, and that, I think, had nothing to do with how good it was. It was entirely the, like, structure of the thing that made it work. So we basically did an Always Sunny episode, very much in the style of the show. The game master started with dropped us in medias res. In fact, no, didn't even drop us in medias res. Dropped us in a flashback. And just described like 3 or 4 really, like, horrifying details about the fairground that we knew we were coming to visit at the end of the last session. I was like, this is on fire, and there's, like, slime everywhere, and, like, an elf turns to you and is like, well, that could have gone better. And then he hard cuts to a version of the Always Sunny, like, opening title sequence that he's put together that's like, the gang goes to the fair. And it plays the music, and there's like all of the characters' names like scroll across the screen, and like sadly I think I was the only one playing that game who'd actually seen an episode of Always Sunny, but I'm like, for me this landed perfectly.
I'm back rewatching it all. I'm in the middle of season 3 at the moment.
Oof.
And I was
You
actually
can't
going
do
to
more than one at a time because they're just such awful
makes
people.
You feel so bad. That's why it's taken me so long to get through like 20 episodes. But I was going to call out on a future episode how powerful that title card is as like a structural element.
Yeah.
Like, it does some great foreshadowing, excellent comedy beat, like phenomenal.
Yeah. And so yeah, that GM, because I debriefed with him later, told me that he had, obviously it's kind of set up the environment with lots of different things to visit at the fair. I think it might even have been a pre-purchased like adventure. He gave himself the challenge of like, I'm going to narrate this like utter chaos and then cut to the players entering the fairground, and then like, we know we want to try and get to this like absolute disaster zone, but I have no idea how we're going to get there. And so he had these hooks where he was like, is there an opportunity to have like slime spill everywhere? Yes, there it is. That happens. Is there an opportunity for something to go on fire? Like, yes, there it is. And so it ended up with this thing where like we felt like we were in complete control, because we were, but he'd also given himself all of these like little gimmies to include where he could. And it ended up with this flashback actually happening as the like last scene of that session, and it was just
excellent close of the loop,
so neatly put together. And as I said, it happened to be in 5e, but I think you could do that style of episode in anything.
Game
but it was
agnostic,
this beautiful little like self-contained fun thing for the players, fun thing for the game master to like try and steer the session towards. Like, I just really enjoyed playing through it.
That's an excellent example of prophecy, right? Like prophecy with agency. A million years ago, I put a thread up on Reddit and was like, how do you use prophecy in your games? And so many people just came out, as they often do on the internet, and said, no, wrong, bad. Don't ever use prophecy.
That's the neat part. You don't.
And yet, like, this is an excellent example of how you do it so that everyone still has agency. Like, you know where the story's ending up, but the journey is what actually matters. Like, the chicanery along the way. We were like a typical
D&D party. I was like, there's no way we weren't burning that fairground down. Like, this is not a genre busting, like, dark and gritty, like, you know, this is very straight down the line D&D. Like, there's no way it wasn't getting set on fire, but by sort of foreshadowing that, we all got to have a lot of fun with it.
I think there are only two outcomes when you introduce a fair into a fantasy game. And one of them is the Wheel of Time. Trollocs come, everyone dies. And the other one is, oops, we accidentally burnt it down.
We were the Trollocs. Nice.
Yeah,
okay,
love it.
I want to follow that one up with two Spotify Wrapped style questions that Tiger Claw has just dropped in general. Tiger Claw wants to know any new game that excites you for 2026, and what are we most looking forward to playing and running next year?
This one's genuinely tricky because I'm navigating my own thoughts on this. I have collected a preposterous number of systems, many of them in the same vein, that I would love to stress test them all and find out which one does best for what. So I'm trying to decide what my year is going to be for next year. And there are kind of three big branches that I'm going down here. One is it the year of tactical combat RPGs? Where I want to play, and this goes to a question that Max from the Discord asked. I want to play Draw Steel at some point. That's a 4E heritage style game. I have Beacon, which is a much more indie game that looks great on that front. I backed the Kickstarter for the reprint of Fabula Ultima, which is like a JRPG tactical game. So much less focus on spatial layout and more on clever plays between characters to exploit weaknesses in like a Final Fantasy style. And I've got another one up my sleeve that I can't put my finger on. Lancer, the combat mech game. Recently got a hardcover of that, which, as usual, when the other podcaster on the same tier as us, Quinn's puts out a review from Quinn's Quest. That's a joke. I know Quinn's is much bigger than us. When he puts out a review, all of
also
the
an example of the
disappear.
stuff I usually cut, but it's usually me negging our own show. And Jordan's like, cut that negative self-talk. We got to act like we're bigger than we are. I'm like, normally I would cut this, but normally I'd be cutting this coming from me. Anyway.
So Lancer is actually a good one to end that stream on, because it is a mech-based tactical combat game that I have not yet played. But then I also have all these other mech games that I would love to explore, like Salvage Union and Beam Saber. I know Beam Saber gets quite a lot of hate in the, or maybe flack is the better word rather than hate, in the Fortune in the Dark community for being a little bit too loosey-goosey on some of its rules and a little too punishing on some of its mechanics. But I want to play that for myself and find out why. So, like, is it the year of mech games? Or is it the year of OSR? I have a lot of OSR style games that are like not just fantasy, but like, you know, fantasy adjacent or sci-fi styles with the similar kind of play ethos. I've got a lot of fun things that I would love to run in that. And there is a limited amount of time in the year. If all goes right, I could probably play about 80 sessions worth of game. So what am I going to pick?
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
I'm exhausted just thinking about that. Look, definitely we can do a mech episode, although if you use that to make me watch all of Evangelion, I simply will not be doing it. There's too much. There's too much and I have no time.
The bait and switch there is to be like, yeah, you got to watch Evangelion because it's a mech show. It's not a mech show. That's a thin veneer of mech smeared across a philosophy show.
I have actually always... Yeah, no. There's not the time to go into all of the mech shows.
Okay, first you're going to watch the first 26 episodes of Evangelion. Then we're going to watch the movies that they did to replace the last 2 episodes because they were a hot mess at the time. Then we're going to start with the Rebuild movie. The Rebuild series only took like 15 years to finish, so you can watch that.
My games for 2026 are... I would like to get back into playing any games at all. I have not played any games for the last 3 months because, as I have hidden very well from the show, I had a child. Well, I didn't. My partner and I had a child. So I have a 3-month-old child.
I have not played we in this, by the way.
No.
The we is a different person.
So I would like to get back into attending any of my regularly scheduled role-playing game sessions at all. That's my goal for the year. In terms of running stuff, I may have answered this question differently last week, but my housemate and I, who I used to live with back in like 2015, when the first season of Stranger Things came out, every time they drop a new season of Stranger Things, even though probably the show is less fresh and compelling than perhaps it was when it first came out, every time they drop a new season, we like come back together and sit on the couch and watch it like we did when we were living together. So we've just watched the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things, and it's got me real thirsty for some Tales from the Loop.
Have you watched the Tales from the Loop TV show?
I have, yeah.
I've watched about half of it. It's so sad.
I was going to say it's beautiful and sad, and
its soundtrack is incredible for the sadness.
Scandy. It's a great show. But yeah, the Stranger Things has got me wanting to run some Tales from the Loop. And I just love that system so much. As I pointed out in a Reddit back and forth recently, like, I think that system this show owes a lot to that system. The idea that you can have, like, plan out a structured session and think about the, like, arc of the dog is barking. And I'm really hoping that the dog is barking while the postman is delivering a package from you, because that's supposed to arrive today. So I really hope that while I'm on a call with you, he's barking at your package.
That's about 5,000 kilometers of travel for that package to arrive.
It's
in the
done
middle
well.
Of our
it's
podcast.
Like 3 days early.
Shout out to Ozpost this year. Doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, they're kicking goals. Where was I? Oh yeah, Stranger Things. So yeah, I think Tales from the Loop, I think this show owes a lot to Tales from the Loop. Just the, like, game mastering advice in that book. I really, really kind of like gave me some light bulb moments, which I think kind of led us to making Platonics. But before that, the new game that I'm excited about running, which actually came out this year and not next year, would be Kill Him Faster. So we're gonna do a Kill Him Faster this year. Like, I will make it happen because I just think it sounds so fun. And running through the sports movie stuff really helped me get my head around like how that show is, or how that game is supposed to feel.
Quick recap of Killing Faster for those who might not remember.
No, they can just go listen to the sports movies episode. Go listen to sports movies.
Structured media content.
It's a sports movie, but the sport is killing Hitler. It's great. Cool.
Yeah. So my game that I want to play is actually just like whole collections of genres of game. Yours is a much more concrete answer. It's much more satisfying to digest.
I did also play my first OSR games this year, and that was like a fascinating experience, which we should dig into at some point.
Absolutely. But not right now.
Not right
We
now.
got another question.
I feel like it's your turn for a question.
Oh, okay. You've been asking your own ones. That's great.
Well, I asked one of my own, and I asked one of Tiger Claw's.
Okay. I'm going to make a statement first. And that is, if you're listening to this on Spotify and you quite enjoy this podcast, and you're one of 3 people of which we are confident that we are your favorite podcast, drop us a line. We'll figure out a thing to reward you for listening to our bullshit for so many hours. We
It's
really
true.
appreciate it.
There's at least 2 of you. Actually, Jordan, do you listen to... You don't
Not on
listen to stuff
Spotify.
on Spotify, do Okay, so
No.
it's neither of us. So there must be actually 3 people for whom we're the top show, according to the analytics, because I don't listen back to the show at all. And...
Wild. This guy doesn't
I
even
know,
listen to
right?
our show.
I mean, if I want to listen to the show, I have the files. I play them in my audio editor, but I'm usually...
but you're still listening to the thing,
Yeah,
right?
just not through a podcast app. I just opened up the MP3 file. So yeah, there's at least 3 people. I can't even be like, well, one of them's me and one of them's yours, because neither of us are listening on Spotify. So whoever you are, say hi.
Yeah.
Don't be strangers.
One
Join
of
the
3.
Discord. There's a link
Join
in
the
there
Discord.
downstairs.
Have a chat. Okay.
All right, preface done.
Prevo's done. Now I'm going to ask one of the questions from Max. And I think this is a pretty juicy one. How far are you willing to homebrew a game before you give up and recognize that maybe you should be playing something else? I think there's a lot of meat on this bone. Shoot.
I think as soon as I am... realistically, as soon as I'm having to contradict the rulebook, right? So as soon as there's... And that's purely a laziness thing for me as a game master. I want to be able to hand a, like, how to play quick start thing to the players and be like, just, like, skim this. And then if I have to add to it over the course of the session, it's very easy to be like, okay, now it's time that we've all got the hang of kind of the core mechanic. The first time this interesting thing that I've bolted on comes up, like, I will introduce that once we get to it. But like anything where I'm having to say, okay, read this course, how to play, except the part about this, we're going to do like this instead, and ignore all the stuff about that's too far. Nope. Give up. And I think honestly at that point, as soon as I start thinking about homebrewing stuff, my brain just goes like la 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 too hard, and I start to look at generic systems instead and start with a generic base that I can add things to, rather than diving too deep into the weeds of like cranking a system that's not designed to do what I want it to do.
I think that's pretty aligned with mine. Like, I don't like rewriting rules from a game. So I'm a huge fan of rulings over rules-based games, because then I can build the thing as I'm flying it. And if there's one thing that you should know from the show's vibe in general, it's that we like to do as little work as possible. Right?
Except, as one person pointed out, if it comes to mysteries, and then Jordan goes full Charlie,
from Always
conspiracy
Sunny.
man.
Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah, like
So
full,
I do
full murder
like
board, but like
building my own mysteries. I do love doing that, and that brings me joy. Right? I have a lot of fun putting all of those threads down. I don't have a lot of fun inventing mechanics that might only be used every now and then. It's like content, fine. Have a good time with that. Building mechanics has to be something that is going to be used frequently. Like, this might come from my engineering background, but I'm about efficiency. If that's not showing up like every damn session, why am I doing that? So very quickly I will hit that point of like, ooh, nah, I think I should just switch to a different system to do this. And that's kind of like the way that we approach our games is, what story are we trying to tell first? What is the vibe that we want to get across at the table? So that if the players leave, they'll say, man, that was a sick XY game. We start with that first and then pick the system that best fits that instead of going the other way around, which I think a lot of people tend to do, which is where that culture of you can do anything in 5e comes from.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really insightful point. If you start with a thing you're trying to achieve and then pick a system that does it, you actually don't have to do the amount of hacking that some people seem to enjoy doing. And if you enjoy hacking as a like little backdoor into game design and you enjoy playing around with things and seeing how they work, like it's not to yuck anyone's yum, but like
that's fine. Yeah, it's like the equivalent of playing Warhammer and loving building lists or painting models or building cool dudes. You know, like there are other bits that you can do in your alone time. As long as it brings you joy, that's fine. But I don't like doing that by myself. I'm here for the conversation at the table. So I want as little as the prep as I have to do to get as much of the value out of the conversation as possible. So when I see people recommending like, oh yeah, you should be prepping like an hour for every hour of play, I'm like, no, wrong, bad. Let's cut that down. Can we make that a half an hour for the whole thing?
I feel like this is maybe a convo that we've had offline, but maybe not on the podcast. What's your ratio of prep to session? Like,
I don't mind front loading a bit of prep. So if I'm going to play a campaign that I know is going to be like, 12 sessions, so I can reasonably expect there to be about 30 to 40 hours of content in there. In total at the start, I'll probably do about 6 hours of prep before we get going, and then very little before every session. I'm talking like 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's like mentally it's enough time to like load everything up, right?
Read the recap of the last session, remember the plot points that I think are going to come up.
Like, fix the map on the whiteboard that's half rubbed off between, like, you know, I show up looking unprofessional, but like,
oh, certainly not. My players never know that I prep so little. What is a very important distinction though, I was playing a lot of in-person games, and I did have like a dry erase mat, and I'd print out terrain because I'm also a 3D printing whore, so I've got a preposterous amount of terrain and such at home. I have fun doing that. That's great. But I hate prepping digital battle maps. And since coming back to quite a lot of online play, I just don't do it. We do a lot of theater of the mind and a lot of zone-based combat. I do not use battle maps. And that means that I don't have to prepare nearly so much. I think VTTs are a trap for time.
Absolutely. I think everything you can do with a VTT, you can probably, you're probably better off using something much more freeform. Something where you can throw up an evocative piece of art, right? But not necessarily using it as a battle map, like a picture of a location, but not like a map. I think,
something
honestly,
that's conceptual rather than spatial.
Magma take, you're better off just like changing your Zoom background.
We used to do that all the time, actually. In the last campaign that I was a player in, that is what we would do. Be like, oh, we're going through the forest. Sick.
Everyone set your forest backgrounds.
Yeah. So yeah, ultimately, I don't tend to change a game's systems that much. I would rather look for a game that more closely aligns than have to hack apart a game that probably does what it's supposed to do quite well, and then I'm trying to make it do something else. On the content front, though, yeah, I'll go nuts. I'll homebrew content all day long. That can be fun, as long as the vibe is good. All right, I got one more that I'm going to sneak in real quick.
Yep. From you or from a...
From Max.
All right.
He wants a good old-fashioned rant on one-shots versus campaigns, or short campaigns versus long campaigns. Where do you sit in this spectrum here? Because this kind of ties back to the parking lot that we had before. Before we dig into the vitriol that popped up on Reddit recently, where do you sit here? What's your preferred kind of game length?
I prefer a short campaign. My long campaign era was in high school when I had an infinite number of like long empty Sundays to spend literally in a friend's attic. Like that was we even though it was not the 80s and we did not have to hide, it was like, well, that was a convenient space for us to hang out, so we hung out in the like attic above his...
So rare to have an attic in Australia as well.
Yeah, it was like a loft that had been added above a carport, so it was like hot as balls, but it meant that we could leave everything set up. Like we didn't have to get off the dining table at the end of the session. We didn't have to get off the dining table when it was invariably dinner time in the house. Like we could just kind of leave the battle mat and leave all the milk crates like set up. So yeah, we played in an attic, and we would play for like 10 hours at a time. We just like blow a whole Sunday on noodling around in these like long ass D&D campaigns, none of which we ever finished. I crave things that end now, not because not because I want them to be over, but because I think I was starved of that experience as a boy. I crave the satisfaction of bringing a campaign to its conclusion, and I think aiming for a short campaign is the way to do that.
What is short in your mind? How many sessions of play, knowing that a session is like a non-uniform measurement?
More than 2 and less than 8.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that is pretty tight.
Like short.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I have kind of 3 modes, right? I try not to judge a game based on a one-shot, especially if I'm playing that game at like a con or something like that, where you just have a very variable environment and the players are unknowns and the GM's an unknown. I try not to judge the game based on that. I have done that in the past and been vindicated, but by and large, I like a decent size sample. So if I'm testing something out, I would like to play it at least twice, preferably 4 times. I think a 4-shot is enough time to sit with some characters for a little bit and get something punchy and a meaningful story arc out of it. And it avoids some of the like behaviors you get in one-shots where players can be like, oh, well, this character doesn't matter, I'm just going to do the dumb thing. And sometimes that's great when you're playing a horror style game and you're like, no, I want you to buy into this, do that. But sometimes you want something that's a little bit more meaty character development that I'm going to hop in the wood chipper just doesn't quite satisfy. So about 4 is a really good short length if I'm testing a game. If I want to dig in, 12 is my number, which is about 3 months of play with a weekly group. And then much more rarely, about 30 is good for my long-term play. I've done a couple campaigns that are in the like 80 to 200 sessions, and I don't want to do that anymore.
I'm just impressed that you count. I wouldn't be able to tell you how long any of our long games go.
I
They
keep
would either
notes.
be like 10 sessions because that's how many like calendar entries are, or it's like, I don't know, it's just indefinite.
It's like on Microsoft Teams where the default unit of time is a half hour, and you're like, I have half-hour meetings because that's the default unit of that. I'd play 10 session games. That's how many slots I could see on the calendar at once.
We put in the calendar. Yeah. No, it's It's definitely. I don't think it's a thing that It's not an experience that I crave anymore, to have these like recurring characters and to come back to them and watch them develop, because I don't know, I feel like I have character development at home. Like, I don't know if I'm going to watch people develop over the course of years. I'm going to
Yeah.
look at my friends and I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this.
It's not even just
Again,
that for me though. It's
kind of stuff that usually gets cut.
it does, like, I remember playing a Tomb of the Annihilation campaign, right? So this had started before I joined it. I joined when they were about level 5, and we played through to like level 12 or something like that. And that took like a year and a half of infrequent games. It was quite frustrating on the scheduling front. We had 6 players in there. It was a fucking nightmare to get everyone around. But I remember at one point, one of the other dudes was like, guys, I hate my character now. I have played him for so long. I just want to play something else. And I was like, yeah, you're allowed to feel that way. You've had all the fun you can have with this guy. You've wrung this sponge dry.
Like, you've sucked all the juice out of this this shtick.
And now
And
you're
that's
just
the
going
thing,
to
right?
get
Like,
your
a short
+2
campaign,
to
you get
attack
to
on the
you get to
next
try
one.
out a shtick. You get to learn enough about a character without getting tired of them. I think on the scheduling front, it's also very easy to be like, we're going to do, say, 12 sessions.
Yep.
It is not insane to be like, okay, everyone, we're going to go through and like put 12 sessions in all yours collective calendars right now, and like it's
Hey guys,
locked in,
over
we're
winter,
done.
we're going to play this game.
Yeah. It's like, it's not demented to ask someone to block their calendar 3 months in advance, 12 weeks in advance. Like, that's such a doable thing, at least for the way that my life runs. And like, if you know that someone's got something on a week, like, that's an amount of time that's foreseeable. Asking people to block every Thursday or every Sunday or every fortnight, whatever, forever.
1 to
Like,
2
that is
years.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I need you to just block every second Thursday for 2 years. I'm like, no. I don't know what I'll be doing on Thursday nights in 6 weeks, let alone like 6 months. So
Probably caring for your child.
yeah, probably.
So ultimately, big long campaigns, nah, not for me anymore. I've done my time in that. I've got the experience that I can get out of it. I also think they are a trap. There's a strong reason why those campaigns never finish, and it's because they don't teach GMs how to finish campaigns. You just
I don't think
keep
it's a
ambling along
coincidence.
until you run out eventually, and the group falls apart, and somebody moves and gets a job elsewhere. And
I don't think it's a coincidence that the one epic long multi-year campaign we finished was Curse of Strahd, because that has an end point, and spoilers, it's when you kill Strahd. There's not really anything to do in the setting after that
curse
point.
that Strahd.
So that was kind of, I think, the end of our epic multi-year campaign era. It was killing Vamp Daddy. Like, it's just, but yeah, I don't think that's a coincidence that was the best experience I've had with a really long campaign. Is this campaign that does end
I think it's very
canonically.
healthy. And also, there are so many games out there. There are so many fresh settings and takes. Like, I just don't want to be wedded to one for, a year at a time. I am collecting games faster than I will ever be able to play them.
It's a real problem.
Yeah, like the bloat, the difference between my life expectancy and the number of sessions required to play these games is really sad.
Jesus Christ.
I can't wait until we retire and I have nothing else going on other than just DMing every day.
You're going to be the old dude, like, playing D&D in the nursing home.
Yeah, who needs shuffleboard when you have imagination? Who needs bingo, a game with literally no agency? Can it be called a game? The agency is, do I play bingo or not?
Vito, we don't have time to go into that rabbit hole. Next question.
Yeah, look, the last point is running shorter games teaches you how to start a game and how to finish a game. And I think a lot of GMs who only play big, long trad games are pretty weak in those areas. They don't know how to hook people in and get people interested, and they don't know how to wrap things up with a satisfying conclusion that doesn't feel just like a regular session. The only way to learn those things is to practice them, and to practice them, you just play short games. Hey guys, come around. We're going to play this month, we're going to play this game, and it's going to be punchy. Great. This winter, we're going to play this one game. Still going to be punchy.
Speaking of wrapping things up with satisfying conclusions.
Next question. All right, you got one?
I do. How many more you got?
As long as 60 minutes will let me.
All right. Give me one more from you, and then I'll give you my closer.
Right, I got a little follow on from Max. Do you have any war stories about where you clearly chose the wrong option? As in, a game that should have been short but went for long, or a game that should have been long and went for short?
I don't know that I do. Probably the worst offense I've had has been one-shots that ran over into 2 sessions.
Oh, that's not that bad. I have been a part of the one-shot that tries to become a campaign. I've never GM'd one of those, but I've been in other people's games where they're like, yeah, it'll just be like one quick thing. But they haven't budgeted for the amount of time that any encounter takes. Or they've been like, yeah, let's use these overland travel rules that I've not play tested, and thus, you spend the whole first 2 sessions just dealing with random encounters, but that's not what the game is supposed to be about. And then it sneakily starts to become a regular thing until people just forget that it was supposed to be a short thing.
Yep.
The most egregious one that I've been a part of was supposed to be a level 1 to 5 adventure for 5e, and we ended up playing through to like level 15 over about 2 years, and it really dragged. It really
Honestly,
dragged so bad.
1 to 15. 1 to 15 in 2 years is actually astonishingly quick progress for a 5e game.
Oh man. And there were no different tiers. We didn't up what the stakes were at any point. We just stayed in the little country town, idyllic country town that had some pretty poor mechanics holding it together. And you're like, well, I'm a wizard and I can...
Orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, I think we killed about 25 hags in that campaign. There was one battle where we killed 9 hags at once. Oof. And I'm like, first of all, I don't think these hags are being played correctly. We shouldn't be able to do this. They're just spellcaster fodder at this point, but our numbers are better than their numbers. But yeah, it was not a great game, and I wish I had have called that 40 sessions earlier. I think that one went for about 120.
Jesus.
It was too many. Too many. So yeah, that's my world-weary 1,000-yard stare when I recall that game. But on the flip side, I don't think I've ever had a game that I regret ended early. Because we've said this on the podcast before, you don't want to finish the game when people are sick and tired of it. You want to finish the game at its peak when they're like, oh, I want to do more. I can't wait till next session. I'm so keen to get back into it. And I feel like any game where people are like that is just an indicator of success that you've GM'd them and left such an emotional hook in their soul. They're like, God, it'd be so cool if we could go back and play more of that one.
Yeah, I found there was one game that I ran last year now that was for a Bucks party. So we knew it had to be a one shot. But the thing that I found really effective at the end of that was a montage. So instead of continuing to play, I popped some music on and had everyone be like, it's 6 months later.
Yep.
What's everyone doing?
Yep.
And it gives everyone it scratches the itch to see where these characters end up without having to play through all of that. And it
provides a really nice, you can't go back.
Exactly. It really cauterizes that urge.
Perfect word. Cauterizes is a great word for this.
Just stem the bleeding. Yeah, it's it's a good way to have, because there were threads left hanging. There were plot hooks for the next thing. That's just the nature of how these games go. And instead of feeling like they never got to experience any of those. They got to spend a couple of minutes narrating like, here's what my adventurer is doing now, and that made it feel like it was done, even though there were still unanswered questions. So
side note,
yeah,
I'm a huge fan of leaving some questions unanswered.
yeah, absolutely.
Very rarely do you get to close every single loop.
This is to do a callback. See why Stranger Things is not as compelling as it used to be. Like, turns out if you answer all of the mysteries, the show is not as fun anymore. You know,
the unknown like, is the play space.
Genuinely, it is like much less compelling to watch now that they have answered the question of like, oh well, here's what the Upside Down is, and here's where it came from, and you know, here's all the like bored. Don't care.
No more mystery. No more magic.
Yeah. So
I think Rowan Rook and Deckard, Grant Howitt, do a really good job of discussing magic as like, as soon as you can quantify it, it's not magic. It's not fun anymore. There's no unknown.
It's just physics. You've just invented metaphysics. Like
exactly.
It's different physics, but it's not magic anymore.
You need to have some wild card, unknowable element in there for it to be magic.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I feel like the way magic works in the Lord of the Rings is very like feels very mystical. It's very mysterious. It's not Gandalf is not slinging fireballs. I feel like magic the way it works in A Wizard of Earthsea is like chef kiss. It's beautiful. It's mysterious. It clearly has rules and texture, but we never hear so much of those as to feel like we understand it. Like Le Guin really does an incredible job of like making a system where a quote unquote magic system where you can tell that this system has rules, but possibly certainly the wizards don't understand all of them. Certainly the reader doesn't understand all of them. Maybe even the author doesn't understand all of them. She just has a vibe on like what will and won't work, but hasn't like written down rules. And that's very much like she's said, that's the way she writes, is that she's just narrating a story that happens in her head. So it's like, this is what feels consistent, feels like it fits, but there's no like rules for it. And I'm like, that is really the sweet spot for magic. And I don't think there's any way to turn that into a game system, unfortunately, because eventually you play through enough of the game that, you know, that's the disadvantage we have as people who are playing a game rather than writing a book, is that you are going to hit on inconsistencies and edge cases, whereas if you're writing a book, you can kind of just like write your way around them, and it's hard to play a game where the rules don't stay the same in between sessions.
It's really hard to play a game when people have different expectations of their character's ability to execute things. It's like, if I decide that I want to cast this spell and then you decide that actually that spell doesn't do the thing that you thought it did this, then I can't really make informed choices about when I should be casting the spell. Yeah. We need that shared baseline.
And in Earthsea, it's all so tied up in philosophy, and like, actually wizards try not to do magic because doing magic upsets the balance. Like, so there's these big powerful ideas, and it's like, actually the magic is not, and maybe this is why it's so good. It's like the magic is not important. The mechanics of the magic is not important. What is important is like, she is telling a story about power and responsibility and what it means to have power, what it means to want power, and what it means to use power, what it means to not use power. And like, the magic is just her way of...
It's a vehicle.
Right. The magic is just a way of like telling that story, but it's not about the magic. And there's very little actual like slinging of spells in Earthsea. It is very much Jed growing up and becoming an adult, and taking responsibility for his actions, but like, and all of this happens through magic, but it's not, the magic is not the important part. I don't know. I love that book.
It's a difficult thing to put in a game though, where you're like, all right, you can do magic, but you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that's
And not
that's
in
the
a
fun
not in a
button
like,
that I
oh,
want
you'll have to
imagine."
roll on the wild magic table way, like, no, genuinely, like, everything you've ever been taught about magic says that, like, you should do as little of it as possible.
Yeah, that's a hard design challenge right there.
Oh. All right. Are
You got
you
something fresh for me?
Yeah, are you ready for my this is one of my questions.
Mm-hmm.
This is I think this will be our closer. And it's something that you have said you're not interested in doing. So
Oh man, this is great forward sizzle.
I've decided to spring you on it live. It's December. If you wanted to run in your home campaign a Christmas special, how would you run it? Give me the mini Platonics treatment on like how you would run a Christmas special in your current ongoing home game. How do you structure that session to make it fun and festive?
Look, this is genuine torture for me. So, I am not a Christmas person. Ham brings me joy, but Christmas doesn't bring me joy.
We're just doing a ham special.
Like, I'm one of those folks who I think the best Christmas I ever had was when I had moved across the country. It was actually like first year of the pandemic. We were allowed to gather, and it was just an orphan's Christmas of friends who got together. We went to the beach, and then I went home, had ham, and hung out with my partner all day, and that was the dream. There was a minimum of drama, but there was a maximum of just hanging out with the people that I like. So if I was to make a Christmas special, all of the baggage that I bring to Christmas would be present in it. And I was also raised a Catholic, so that doesn't help in the slightest. I've never run a Christmas special, but I have run an Easter special in Blades in the Dark with a cult of the Redeemer who were really intent on bringing their recently deceased Messiah back to life.
Okay, so like a trad Easter, not like the bunny Easter.
Yeah.
There's like Old Testament Easter. Well, I guess New Testament Easter. But...
New Testament Easter, but if Jesus was more of an elder god kind of a vibe, a manifestation of an unknowable being. And that one was an ideal case for me because about 2/3 of the way into it, one of the characters was like, hold on, are we playing Easter right now? And I was like, yes. This is exactly the vibe that I went for. So, my current ongoing game, present constraints. It is a D20 system. It is a 5e style game. It is set in a like fantasy renaissance-y time period. And there's lots of magic. It is a high magic situation. What are the core elements of Christmas? if we're to go with a non-jaded view, it would be something about Christmas is about family, about giving, about community.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that we're in Australia, Christmas is about snow.
Yep.
I have never had a snowy Christmas in my life. Most Christmases are extremely hot or extremely hot and wet when it rains in the summer. So, could I make this about found family in there to try and replicate my one good Christmas?
Yeah, I think so.
Which means that I have to have a situation where there's tension between spending Christmas with the people that you're obliged to and it sucks, or finding the people that you wish you could have had the time with instead.
I don't know, man. That sounds compelling as heck.
Big social gathering of some sort. Oh, no. Okay. You know what it is? It skill checks the game. And we're going to draw from every Christmas episode or Thanksgiving episode that you see on TV, where it's like, there are social structures that we have to oblige. Like, there has to be a Christmas ham. There has to be mum's trifle. If you've never had a trifle, go look up what a trifle is. It's one of the best fucking desserts. So fucking good. There has to be like the tree, and there has to be presents for everyone. But they are all the obstacles that you are overcoming, a la the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's trying to get the last Turbo Man. The whole movie is just about him trying to get Turbo Man for his kid, right? So I think I would model it off that, where it's like you're trying to manage the stress of dealing with all of these social structures that you have to satisfy for it to be a quote unquote good Christmas. But the real outcome is that you can just say fuck all of that and hang out with your pals at the Tav.
I think you've actually accidentally nailed it, which is that the ideal, like, if you go and look at the Christmas specials, there is a thing that they are universally about, and it is discovering the true meaning of Christmas. And all of the trappings, like that, this is the recurring theme, right? Is that all of the trappings that we have around Christmas, whether that's like family obligations or, you know, you gotta like the gift giving or you gotta get the perfect ham. Like the real meaning of Christmas, the true meaning of Christmas is, you know, spending time with the people that you care about, right? Like this is, I think you've accidentally nailed it. And so I think it's like everything that can go wrong does go wrong, but in the end it doesn't matter because of who you have with you. Like I think that's the structure you're aiming for, is like you kind of want everything to go disastrously wrong and then for it actually not to matter. Like that is the structure of a Christmas episode. Have you seen A Moody Christmas?
No.
Okay, so
I also don't like watching Christmas related media.
This one I think you should check out. So it's an ABC show. It's 6 episodes, so like a short run. Every episode is another year of this family's Christmas. And so you see all of these traditions like develop and invariably go wrong. Like people bring girlfriends, people bring there's like a developing romance subplot, like people break up, like there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's like every year this guy shows up at Christmas and the episode just like it just tracks. It's all Christmas episodes essentially, but everything always just goes catastrophically wrong and it kind of doesn't matter is the shtick. And I think that's exactly what you're describing, is like, it doesn't, none of this stuff matters, none of the obligations matter, none of the trappings actually matter. It's about spending time with people that you like and actually like.
I hate that you did this to me.
I love that you actually found a way that you would enjoy it.
I never said I would enjoy it.
I love that in presenting you with this as a challenge, you've designed something that will actually work, put it that way.
And I ain't gonna spend any more time on it. I have one last question for you.
Would you run it?
God, no, that's not it. And how would you do it in 5e? No. My one last question for you is, looking ahead from all of the media that we have not done on the show yet, what do you think is the hardest IP or genre for us to platonicify?
Genuinely, I think the one that I desperately want to do and just don't think we can is A Wizard of Earthsea.
Because it would require me to read it?
It's a crime that you haven't. But there's 2 elements. One is that the world is so beautiful and the setting is like so unusual for an RPG. It's set like Iron Agey, so it's not medieval. It's like a little bit earlier, like a little bit sort of primitive, a little bit sort of ancient, and
more
just
swords and sandalsy.
Yeah, just these like beautiful themes. 2 issues. Three issues. One is I love it so much that I would hate to set any players loose in that world, because they would ruin it. Two is that I think the ideas are too big. It's too concepty, it's too mythic, it's too weighty to just screw around in, which so many games are. You would want something really meaningful to play in that world. But I think the third reason that it's so tempting to do, but I could just never bring myself to do it, is that the author, who is an author I respect an awful lot, Ursula Le Guin, is on record as saying, she's like, do not do this. This is not a game. This is not a world for you to like play around in and have sword fights. Like, that is not what this setting is for. Please do not ever turn this into a game. That's not what it's about. Which is like heartbreaking to me, but also I understand it because it really isn't. So that is, I think, the one that would be hardest to do justice to, because I just don't think there is a way to do justice to something that is so big and meaningful, and also that the author has specifically asked you not to.
Yeah, that's a hard line to cross right there. Hey, I respect you, but not what you've asked.
But not your wishes.
Man, my answer is going to sound so trite in comparison.
That's good.
Mine was roguelike video games.
Oh.
This is one that I've been stewing on for quite a long time. I've for like 5-6 years, have been contemplating in the back of my mind, how would you make a Slay the Spire role-playing game that actually feels like Slay the Spire and not like a dungeon crawl? And of late, I've been grinding a lot of Hades 2. And, it's same vibes, much more actiony, less deck buildery, but like very tight mechanics built around that repeated run that works great as an individual. But I just don't know how you would bring this to a group of people and have this, like, it is a core combat loop that is repeated, but the combat has to be snappy, but also individual enough that there's texture to it. I think it's like a holy grail problem for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, because obviously they're called roguelikes because they are like the game Rogue, which was basically a D&D dungeon crawl. So like, yeah, it's interesting that genre has evolved enough away from those roots that it now sort of has load-bearing
it's got
elements
its own
that
emergent
can
structures.
only be done through that kind of genre of,
like, especially with a roguelite game where you have an ongoing progression. I think that like there's a part of that that's fertile for a role-playing game kind of setup. Like, each time you foray out into the wilds, you acquire more resources that allow you to build up your base or something like that. But how to make that loop tight and snappy in the same way that a video game is capable of doing, where like a run only lasts, like 20 minutes to an hour. So your feedback loop is really tight. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for me to conceptualize how to get that vibe to play out. I would love to do this when I have figured it out.
I wonder if something like a real world time limit would help you. So it's like, we are going to do one sort of delve per session and you have to be in and out in 3 hours real time. Like, I wonder if that kind of helps you.
Like an episodic type thing. Because like there are open tables that play OSR style games, where like West Marches, where you're on the frontier and whoever is there tonight is the adventuring crew that's going to go out, and you have to get back by the end of the session. So it's like, go out, do the thing, get back. But I'm still not convinced that would feel like this.
I think it's, rather than doing that in like a West Marches thing, I think you've got to do it in a Delvey kind of a dungeon.
And like, how do you do it so that there's not a huge burden on the GM to have to constantly repopulate a dungeon with fresh new challenges? And like, I'm certain that this can be done. I just haven't come across any system that natively would handle that.
I mean, like, I think probably it's a board game and not an RPG.
Maybe it's like
something super,
like, really mechanically tight, but not like, doesn't provide that narrative loose space.
Almost like a Clank.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
I think did they ever do a Clank Legacy? I think they did like a
Yeah,
Clank with like
it's
legacy stuff.
Ack Inc. has a Clank Legacy.
Yeah, like I feel like that's what you're describing as a Clank Legacy, and
It
then
may even be a addition to my irregular board games crew. It's my group of dads where they're all dads except me. So we host it at my place because it's the one place that we can play a complex board game without someone's child coming up and playing with all the pieces.
relatable.
Requires them all to have like the Swiss cheese of schedules all line up. So we typically
holes.
just, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing one Thursday 6 weeks from now. I do. That's when we're going to put it in for the calendar for us to finally see each other in the flesh.
Yeah. Oh,
Play-
I might have to.
We took
I
2
might have
years
to talk
play
to you
Pandemic
offline
Legacy.
about your how you make this scheduling work, because I feel like there's some life hacks to learn here.
Look, that's an episode unto itself, and it is easily the worst minigame. It is the vegetables on the plate of role-playing games is making scheduling work. All right, I think that is time.
We are. I don't know if we're out of questions, but we're certainly out of time.
I have one last thing that I'd like to toss out into the world, and that is, are there any resources, not platonics, that you would recommend people read over the summer or listen to or watch? Like, well, when I say the summer, that's for Australia. For all you Northern Hemisphere folks,
You Northerners
the bitter cold winter.
over the bitter cold of winter.
And for the equatorial folk, I don't know, just
Continuing heat.
wet, is it wet season? I'm not sure.
I think it depends on where you are. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Things you should read or watch or listen to. Does it have to be like an RPG thing?
I think something along that line, something about the game element.
Yeah. Look, if you've never read it, go read Tales from the Loop. Well, I'll do a little callback to the top
The
of the
core
episode.
rules book.
Yeah, go read the Tales from the Loop core rule book, because it is genuinely like a fun piece of. There's like some really fun art and world building and fiction in there. I think it is one of those rule books that you can sit down and read, but it also does such a good job at talking about what we do on the show, which is structuring sessions rather than thinking about adventures or rules. It's like, nope, here is how your time at the table should be structured, in like alternate these scenes with these scenes and end your scenes when this is done and end your game when this is done, and here's how you do like an opening montage and a closing montage. Like, it's a very structured way of spending your time at the table, and once you read it and kind of grok it, it's really hard to go back to unstructured, just like letting your sessions meander. So there you go. It's a callback, closing the loop, if you will.
Closing the tales.
But yeah, that's probably what I will be reading over the summer to try and get my head back into that for hopefully running a game next year.
I will recommend the Mothership Warden's Manual, which is pretty milquetoast on the recommendations front. Everywhere that you search for this, you will find universal praise. So it's not like this is a bold opinion, but kind of the same vibe. Mothership is a horror game that is relatively rules light. The Warden's Manual shows very clearly how you would use a framework to build an interesting mystery. And when I say shows clearly, it even says, grab yourself a cheap notebook, open it up, write this at the top, Mothership one shot. Follow these steps, write these bits down in a really tangible way of how to implement a framework for a story. It's not
I love that.
woolly, and it provides lots of like you need like these elements to your story. You need some omens. Here are some tables, roll on them, pick some omens, and then see how they fit in with the threat that you've identified. And it's just so tangible.
It feels very lazy Dungeon Master.
Similar-ish. It's honed much more tightly though. Like, this is built around the genre of horror, like space horror specifically. It is so tightly married to that. Of course you can pull this framework out and adapt it for other things, but I just love how the content fits the framework so snugly. Like, it is genuinely a masterpiece of a tiny little zine style book. Really easy to read and digest. But I think just so you can see a structural element to how you would run a horror game, phenomenal. Excellent work.
Sick. All right, we are out of questions. We are out of time. We are out of year.
Out of
Out of
year.
days.
That's 2025, everybody.
We're out of days. This has been Platonics. You can find us on the internet at platonics.net or wherever you get your podcasts. We will catch you in 2026. If you wanna drop us some recommendations for next year, because we currently have a blank slate, lots of ideas but nothing locked in. Best place to find us is to hop onto the Discord. There's a link on the website. And we would love to hear some people. Firstly, those 3 people who have us as their top show. If you're not already in the Discord, get on that. But yeah, if you've got things you want to see us cover next year, jump in there and let us know. That's the best place to get a hold of us. You can also find us on all the usual spots, the fake Twitters, and there's an email address, and all the usual stuff. But you'll find all that on the website. So go there.
Drop in, say hi. If your recommendations require a bit of pre-work to be done, like watching an entire season of anime, you should definitely do that during this period of the year. This is the bit where we have the most downtime.
This is the bit where we have time to watch a whole season of something.
All right. That's the show.
I'll see you next year.
Catch you guys probably in February next year.
Yeah.
All right.
Boy.
I've just realized I never identified what the parking lot was. I said the most controversial thing I've ever said on Reddit the other day, which was, I wish games would give you an indication of how long they last for. So some games are really good for one-shots. Some games are really good for short campaigns of about 12 sessions. Some games are good for ongoing things. People hated that idea. Oh boy. Oh boy, so many people despise the idea that you could ever try to quantify how long a game could be played for.
It's a lot. We'll link to that one as well. Go have a read. Go have a
Vitriol.
read.
Some people had some really bad takes in there, which really remind me of the accessibility argument of if you make things more accessible, the entire world benefits from it. If you put an indication of how long a game could be played for on the book, no one is harmed by that, but it does let you make an informed decision about whether it's right for the style of game you want to play. People were so against ever trying to do anything like that because it could hurt their game at home that's been running for 9 years. How?
In ways that are not really defined.
What? Just as unquantifiable. All right, that's the rant. Look forward to many more hot takes for next year.
Okay, now we really are done.
Genuinely finished.